One time I told Rob that he seemed like the Ubermensch to me, because the Ubermensch in Nietzschean philosophy is sort of this creative force who doesn't let traditional standards, doesn't let traditional morality, doesn't let traditional creative efforts really bind him or dictate how he lives his life. The Ubermensch, and Rob, I think, is a kind of person who is creative and creates a new thing and just says, this is what I'm going to do. If you want to be involved with this, you can be involved, we can all have a good time, but I'm not going to let you tell me what to do. I live here in this house in Thunderdome. I'm a philosophy student, studied MSU, going into my senior year. I like to do fun things and hang out, and that's why I love Thunderdomes. When I moved in here, Thunderdome didn't exist. It was a house. It was a little bit of a weird house, you know, there was lots of painting and stuff. There was lots of weird artwork and things all over the walls, and I was kind of like, okay, it's cool. But there wasn't any Thunderdome, and there wasn't for the first few months that I lived here. We had maybe talked about it like a day or two before, and Rob was like, hey, I think I'm thinking about building a Nerf course in the backyard. Like, we hang out, we kind of have people over and stuff, but we don't really do anything in the backyard, you know, we just kind of hang out and don't really do anything with that section of, you know, the property. So he was like, let's build a Nerf course maybe. And then he came and he was like, okay, we're building a Nerf course today. And we were like, okay. So I just went in the backyard and started, you know, using the power tools and putting things together, and we're just like, all right, it's coming together. And that was kind of just how it started. That was really, honestly, like, coming over here was the first time I was really exposed to Nerf stuff as a whole. I mean, we didn't ever have, like, Nerf guns. We played with, like, water guns and super soakers in the neighborhoods where I grew up, you know, and everything. And in California it was really hot, and so we all had water balloon fights and stuff in the summers and everything, and didn't want to really move around too much and play Nerf and stuff. So here was really my first exposure to, like, Nerf guns and the Nerf culture and everything. When Rob really gets an idea about what he wants to do, he kind of just goes for it. He says, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and then the next thing you know, it's like, all right, we're doing this, it's going to happen, let's go, and then he makes it happen. It's pretty great, honestly. It's kind of cool to see, because it's just like, all right, we're going to go hard, we get it done, and you really see things get accomplished that a lot of other people just wouldn't accomplish. One time I told Rob that he seemed like the Ubermensch to me, because the Ubermensch in Nietzschean philosophy is sort of this creative force who doesn't let traditional standards, doesn't let traditional morality, doesn't let traditional creative efforts really bind him or, you know, dictate how he lives his life. The Ubermensch and Rob, I think, is a kind of person who is creative and creates a new thing and just says, this is what I'm going to do. If you want to be involved with this, you can be involved, we can all have a good time, you know, but I'm not going to let you tell me what to do, basically. And that's kind of what I meant by that comment. It's just very much a positive creative force who's kind of constructing his own sort of world. And that's how I felt at the time when I was saying that. And that's how I still feel. When I moved in here, I was a little bit awkward. I mean, I was homeschooled for not my entire life, but through a very significant portion of my life. I didn't have a lot of exposure to people. I was still kind of coming into my own, discovering who I am. You know, I'm a little bit younger than a lot of the people who are over here. You know, I'm certainly younger than Rob, about 10 years. So moving in here and hanging out with Rob and, you know, the other people who are over here, it really sort of allowed me to become more comfortable with myself and allowed me to kind of just become more confident, honestly, in a lot of situations. Situations where I normally would have felt really uncomfortable, unsure how to handle myself, you know, not know what to do, just realize that, well, it's really not that big of a deal. You know, I can just handle it. You can just do it. It's fine, you know. And that helped me deal with a lot of my little kind of neuroses and stuff and, you know, confidence problems, I guess you might say. I like Nerf a lot. It's been really fun. Like, ever since we started playing, it's really good. I always like to go play the, you know, the HVZ on campus and everything. And for one thing, I like the fact that you can feel like you're having fun with a lot of friends. And then you can also get those moments where it's just like, man, I just did something really cool right there. You know, when you run around and you just tag everybody on somebody else's side and you just bring everybody down on the team, it's really satisfying. You know, it's just like, I accomplished this, I did this, it's really great. And, you know, for me, I'm not the most athletic individual, you know. I mean, I don't regularly exercise that much, but here I can go for hours and hours and be fine, you know, and have a good time and just, you know, drink my water and really enjoy hanging out with people and shooting darts at each other. And the thing about Rob's house is there are no topics that are off limits. So when we're sitting around the fire, we'll discuss anything from just our mundane day-to-day activities, you know, somebody tells a story and we're all like, that's really crazy, I didn't know that happened, to like political situations, you know, to religious views, to philosophical stances, to anything that comes up. And admittedly, I'm kind of pretentious, so I'm the only one who uses the fancy philosophical words. And everybody else just kind of goes, okay. But we certainly talk about a lot of things of content, and then a lot of things that are not really of content. Honestly, a lot of the time it's Rob leading the conversation. I mean, he's very good at getting people to talk to each other and actually interact with each other and get to know each other. He'll start off by, you know, asking somebody about their family or asking somebody about what they're doing or did they enjoy themselves at Thunderdome or, you know, where do they work, what do they do, and then from there it just goes off into wherever it goes. For one thing, it's just because a lot of the people who hang out here are not very extroverted people. I mean, a lot of the people who hang out here, these people who are playing Nerf on campus and things, and even people like me who just kind of, you know, got to know Rob through other channels, I mean, I would have described myself as very introverted a couple of years ago. And so for me, having somebody around like Rob it's kind of a relief. It's just like, this guy's going to lead the conversation. This guy's going to make sure we know what's going on and just guide things. And that's kind of relaxing, even if you are kind of anti-authority, you know, in your head, as, you know, a lot of the people hanging out here are. When it's a lot smaller groups, sometimes it gets to the really serious personal stuff, you know, when it's 4 or 5 of us sitting around the fire and it's, you know, me and Rob and my girlfriend and a couple of other people, then we start talking about sometimes the really serious things and what we've been going through, and, you know, be like, well, I had a really rough week. I had to work way too much. I was really high stress. I really needed this. You know, I really needed to cool down and hang out, and I really appreciate it. You know, I really appreciate you guys being there for me, and that kind of conversation happens too. And I think that Thunderdome's been really helpful in a lot of ways for me. And I've, you know, kind of struggled with depression and things for a long time, you know, ever since I was a kid. Here is really the first place, you know, Thunderdome, this house and everything is really the first place where I've had a group of friends who I can hang out with, who I can talk to, where I actually feel like I'm doing something creative and positive, where I feel like I'm really accomplishing things that are important things, you know, and not just kind of going through the daily grind. So, like, a lot of times I kind of will lose hope for a minute sometimes, you know, you just kind of look at everything and it becomes kind of hopeless for a second about life and the ridiculous aspects of life, and, you know, think about the fact that I've got to go on to grad school. But all that kind of, you know, can go away and you don't have to worry about it, and then you can feel like you can actually accomplish that and get over that just by, you know, being here, by working on things, by, you know, playing. It's been a really positive influence, you know, it's kept me really happy some days when I've otherwise would have been really down, you know. It's and I never would have tried to seek out people before. Basically, I always just kind of would want to be by myself and then kind of just wallow in my misery, you know. And being here and playing Nerf and doing Thunderdome and hanging out with Rob and everybody has really made me see that you can't do that. You know, you have to kind of force yourself to do things. You have to try to be with people. You have to actually be a positive person, you know, and you have to put effort into that if you want to make it work, and you can make it work, you know. And it's been a really great experience, you know, the past year and year and a few months now, I guess, that I've lived here. Yeah. I suspect that Rob's experiences throughout life, the hard times that he's gone through, then the PTSD that he's dealt with and things, have probably shown him just kind of what the misery can be like, you know, and what that pain can be like. And once you've been there, it's really hard to not want to help other people out of it. Everybody I know who has some sort of, you know, mental problem, which is almost everybody, goes in kind of, you know, a couple of different directions, and you can kind of either just shut yourself off and become totally cold and cynical and not care about anybody else, or you can kind of gain a greater understanding of the human condition and want to improve that. So I think that in dealing with his own sort of issues, he kind of came to the realization that the world is kind of, you know, there's a lot of bad stuff in it sometimes, you know, it's hard to get through sometimes, and the best thing you can do is really just try to make as much happiness as you can.
Gotcha. Whoa! Okay, here we go.
Ah! It bounced out!
Oh shit! Ah, I'm down! You got me. I don't know if I want to take that.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit, I'm out. Down!
Hello!
What the point when you're trying to reload?
Alright, let's move up. Yeah, get in position, we got it. Damn it! That's that time.
What the shit was that?
I don't know, bro.
5 minutes!
Really? 5 minutes! Oh, fuck. Oh, damn. Nice dodge, man. throw darts?
You can't live.
No.
Oh.
You've never been a dead shoulder.
Oh.
Nice!
Right in the tit, Cody.
No. Spawn camping. I love spawn camping. It's a legitimate strategy, Chad. It's a legitimate strategy. Ah, nice. My boss, Stephen Washington. We're on a harmonic. Woo! Oh, I was gonna high five you. Hey. Gotcha. Nice.
Up, down.
Ah, got me.
Come at me.
Stay right there, dude. Now.
I got it. I know. Let me see it.
See you now? You again?
Revenge! Sorry. Whoa, gunshot. That was fucking awesome.